Okay, guys, I think I figured something out that I've been buying into a meme this whole time. By the way, the anime board on 8chan still has not gotten as good as pre-8kun 8chan, which is really unfortunate. It's the threads are still, well, they're not just as bad as when this all started, but geez, geez, my guy, they still haven't quite recovered. So I mean, at least I can read it now without wanting to fucking shoot myself. But uh, those slight improvements don't mean much in the face of the fact that they still haven't gotten better. Ooh, cool image. Who saved this? They still haven't gotten all the way better. So maybe 8kun will never be as good as what 8chan was. Um, but I hope they at least strive to have the level of discussion that they used to. This is really annoying. These people really annoying, whereas before it wasn't as annoying. But okay, I think I've realized that I've been buying into a meme. In my last video on unconditional apoliticism, I said that everything is political. And the more that I thought about that after I released that video, the more I'm thinking maybe that's just a meme that political people tell us so we don't end up giving up on their systems. Like the sort of the logic behind the statement that everything is political is that every action that you take, whether it is to advocate for something or not advocate for something, is in some way, at least residually, um, uh, contributing to one side or the other. So by advocating for one position, obviously you're contributing to the strength of that position. And by not advocating for it, you're contributing to the strength of another position. And if we're thinking of things in a utilitarian sense, like if we're thinking of how do all of these different actions contribute to the whole, I don't think that's necessarily true because we live in a deeply fatalistic world where, by and large, the outcomes have been decided. That we are not able to affect any significant change because the people who own the media are, in large part, the same people who own the legislation and own the outcomes of whatever this system will produce. It's how they're able to cheat someone like Bernie Sanders, who, based on all of the exit polls in 2016, won the election against Hillary Clinton, but he didn't win anyway because they cheated. Outright rigging of the voting machines. And I mean, like the voting machines in general are very easy to rig if you trace back, the manufacturers of them, and how unstable they are compared to paper ballots. You can start linking names to actions. You can start linking ideologies to the people who are in charge, and in a lot of ways, the vote shouldn't be believed. And I mean, you can push back against that and say I'm a conspiracy theorist or whatever, and you would be wrong. Um, so don't even try. But yeah, even if you don't believe in that core premise that the voting machines themselves are rigged, there are various ways in which the system is undeniably rigged against change, whether that be on the populist right or the populist left. Um, you know, so that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. You're not going to have a revolution to destroy electoralism either, because we have drones now. And if you know even a little bit about modern military technology, a bunch of people with fucking sticks in the forest are not going to be able to defeat the power of the of white phosphorus and whatnot. Um, so you're not going to win. You are not going to win unless you have some pre-established superpower backing you, and there is no pre-established superpower that exists in this world today who is not capitalist. China is capitalist. The structure of their government and largely what it produces is more akin to social democracy than socialism. And if you look at their goals and what they've been doing around the world, it is in large part to increase the accumulation of their own wealth, and they're standing in the world to increase profits. I mean, they have billionaires in their country that are actively trying to increase profits. So China is capitalist. They're not trying to instill some sort of new socialist order, which they themselves have said they're not going to do. So even if you believe the delusion that China is somehow socialist, they're not going to be the guys to bring about a socialist change. They're just not. They've said it. We are not here to export our political model, etc. And if you look at their actions throughout the world, that is very much true. They're not exporting a political model. So they're out of the picture. Even if you believe they're socialists, which is wrong, they're out of the picture. Russia, largely, it's just a state capitalist institution that will align with whoever allows them to keep holding power. So they're not going to help your revolution either, because it would likely lead to sanctions from the UN, etc., and that's not going to be good for them. The only reason they've had such a good policy in Syria is because they need oil pipelines. It's not because of morals or anti-imperialist solidarity. It's just not. The United States, it's an obvious case. They're not going to they're not going to help your populist revolution either. So there's no superpower left. So no one to give you arms, no one to help you out along your way. You're basically just out on your own. And Cuba, by the way, has no resources to help anyone with because they've been sanctioned for the last, like 5 decades or whatever. So that's not going to happen either. Or embargoed for the last, I want to say 70 years. But yeah, so there's no hope on the electoral front because the system is bought and rigged, and there's no hope on the revolution front because there's just no one to help you against modern military technology. So if no change is going to be made, if it's impossible for a political change to be made, and the outcomes of everything are just fatalistic, then it's safe to say that not everything is political. Because it doesn't matter at that point how your words and actions influence other people politically. Because those people have just as much power as you do, which is none. You have no power, and you're not going to get any within the parameters that have been set in place, what with military technology advancing at the rate that it is. So everything is not political. Social issues, again, are the only place where we have any sort of power over it because it seems like the capitalist class and the general elite is more lenient about social issues because they see it as a way to keep society stable. George Soros, for example, famously tweeted out that, drugs should be decriminalized. And there's a lot of elites that believe that they should be decriminalized because they see it as a way of reducing the prison population and making a more stable society so they can hold on to their power. Not all of the elites agree with one another. In fact, the elite is a very divided class. And so in the realm of social issues, there's probably a social issue that you believe in that they would believe in as well. And if you have at least a small section of the elite on your side, the idea of trying to make change in a social sense is not that far off. It's not as unrealistic as making an economic change. Changing things economically or even changing the political structure of how the vote is conducted is largely a futile process because none of the people on top are going to support that. And you're fucked. We're all fucked. So stop caring. Not everything is political when you have no power. So stop pretending like it is because that's only a justification for partisanism and allowing yourself to, again, continually dehumanize other people for the sake of your political party at the expense of those people when in fact everything you're doing is completely meaningless.